All right. So after reading the case studies, I want you to consider how your locus of control can impact the relationships that you have with your students. Think about your students this year. You've gotten to know them pretty well. And if you haven't met them yet, you will. And so, what can you do in the future that could help you to build better relationships with them? What could that possibly look like? All right, let's talk Pygmalion. I love the Pygmalion effect. I'll tell you why. Because Pygmalion effect is something that every single one of us has dealt with. We all can come up with an example of Pygmalion effect in our own lives, right? So if you've never seen the movie My Fair Lady, it's not a requirement for this course. I would say it's a requirement for life, but that's just me personally. But it is an awesome example of the Pygmalion effect, right? So in total, the Pygmalion effect is this psychological phenomenon that says that the expectations of others affect our own performance, right? You're like, well, duh, right? That makes sense. My boss expects me to show up to school every single day. My principal does every single day on time. I'm supposed to be there. I got to be there, right? Yes, but it goes much deeper than that, right? So the expectations that others have placed onto us can have long-term positive and negative consequences on us, right? So Pygmalion is not just the most basic of responsibilities and expectations. Pygmalion is going deep into our psyche and developing in us what we actually believe about ourselves, okay? So I'll give you a personal example. When I was in high school, I was in the 10th grade and I turned in this term paper for my English class. And she, about a week later, was passing everybody's papers out. I didn't get mine. And of course, I'm sitting thinking, oh, she's going to call me up and like tell me how amazing I was. I mean, because it was a great paper. It was great, right? And she says, Megan, I need you to see you after class. I'm like, oh, maybe I get something special, right? And she crushed me. She looked at me and said, Megan, you are quite possibly the worst writer I've ever taught. And my 16-year-old brain was like, you're so old. That's a lot of people that I'm the worst writer than, right? And let me tell you, it crushed me. It did. I held on to it. All throughout my bachelor's degree, it made me sick to have to write a paper. I steered clear of any kind of social science degree just so that I wouldn't have to write, because I was like, I'm the worst writer ever. Got to my master's degree, I was in the writing center 2 and 3 times a week because I was sick, physically sick to my stomach about writing a thesis because I was the worst writer ever. And I mean, y'all, I held on to that. I held on to it. Even into my PhD, I held on to it. All because one teacher made a really harsh comment towards my work, right? But think about it. All of us have an example, not just with a former teacher. It could be a parent. It could be a sibling. It could be society, right? It could be you. We can find them everywhere. So when we are talking about Pygmalion effect in our own classrooms, this has such a big impact on our kids, right? In our minds, we know that we've got to build our kids up with their content, right? Our struggling readers, we need to make them believe that they can read, that they can do it, right? With our kids in chemistry, learning their periodic table. You can do this. I know you can, right? But when it comes to behavior, sometimes we fall flat. And we just make our students believe that this is as good as it's ever going to get for them, right? So the Pygmalion effect is huge. It can have long-term consequences, positive and negative, on our kids, right? So it's really, really important that we talk about this and think about it in our own classrooms.